Hi, this is Jackie with Panama Relocation Tours. Thank you for joining us for our Move to Panama Q&A live stream. This live stream is all about you getting answers to your questions about moving to and living in Panama. We actually did one of these last Saturday. We had 586 people on the live stream, and the questions were coming in so fast, and there was no way I could get to all of the questions, so I decided to host one again this Saturday to answer any questions that people couldn't ask last week that they just want to ask. So we'll get started with the questions in just a little bit while we're waiting for people to come in. I have a couple of announcements to make. First of all, if this is your first time to be here, thank you so much for joining us. Every Saturday we do one of these live streams. Sometimes it's just to answer your questions, and sometimes I interview someone that's moved to Panama or a doctor in Panama, other things. But every Saturday at this same time, we do a live stream. If you have suggestions about things you'd like for me to cover, you're welcome to send an email to info@PanamaRelocationTours.com. A little bit about Panama Relocation Tours. We started the company back in 2010. I had come to Panama. I really fell in love with it. I told some of my real estate investor friends about it. They wanted to come and check out Panama, so I organized a little tour for them to see all the things that I saw. Little did I know that it was going to turn into, all these years later, into a company that we just finished, or no, we're currently doing tour number 274. We've helped thousands of people move to Panama. We also offer private tours, and we have something called our online Panama Relocation Guide, which is like a home study course for how to move to Panama. You can get more details about the tours or the online guide on our website at PanamaRelocationTours.com. One other thing that I want to make an announcement about, for any of you that have bought the online Panama Relocation Guide, or if you're thinking about buying it, tomorrow I have a major update coming out to the online guide. We've added a couple of new immigration attorneys. I've added pricing for all of the immigration attorneys, and I've already negotiated a discount for you because you're a Panama Relocation Tour client, so you've already got that. Plus, we've added new tour guides for the Azura Peninsula, which is Chitre, Las Tablas, Pedicey, and some other good things that you're going to get an email about tomorrow with all of the updates. I want to thank Debbie Klappa for being our moderator today. It says Chuck and Debbie. It's actually Debbie. I don't know if Chuck's online or not, but Debbie's our moderator. And one of the things she wants to make sure is that we leave politics out of the equation on our Q&A live streams. We tell everybody, when you move to Panama, leave all that stuff at the border. Don't even bring it with you. Many people move to Panama just to get away from it. So, if you got political comments, please don't make them in our chat window. And if you have political questions, I'd rather not answer them. You can send me a private email if you want to info@PanamaRelocationTours.com. But most people in Panama come here to get away from all that political stuff. So let's just leave that out of the equation. Also, for the benefit of you that are new, if you don't know how our live streams, our Q&A live streams work, I'm not able to click on your name and pop you up on the screen so you can ask a question. Instead, you're going to have to type your question into the chat window and put 3 question marks in front of it so I know it's a question, because there's all kinds of conversations going on over there that have nothing to do with asking me a question. And we have like this Saturday family reunion. Every Saturday, people come and just hang out in our chat window and reconnect with people that they went on a tour with, or meet people that are also like-minded and interested in moving to Panama. So if you have a question for me, you can go ahead and type 3 question marks in front of it and pop it up, and then I'll pop it up on the screen. Here's our first one right here. Are there volunteer opportunities for retirees that move there? There are so many volunteer opportunities for people that move here. Of course, the opportunities change a little bit depending on where you live in Panama. But, most places are going to have some kind of a spay and neuter clinic. Some people have where they put baskets of food together and take it up in the mountains to people that are very, very poor, just all kinds of travel opportunities. So it depends on which community you're in as to which opportunities are available. I also want to mention that the questions scroll off the screen pretty quickly, so I might not get to your question on the first round. You might have to type it in a second or third time for me to see it. By the way, that's Panama City right behind me. This is what the view is. Someone sent me this picture. It's the roof from their balcony for their condo on Avenida Balboa. So wouldn't you love to have that view every day? So Jane wants to know, which bank is more popular in Boquete, Chase or Bank of America? Well, you're not going to have either one of those. There's no Chase or Bank of America in Boquete. There are actually no U.S. banks in Panama, so that's not going to work. Mary wants to know, is it really expensive to get a container to ship belongings? It's pretty expensive to get a container. If you do a 20-foot container, we did a live stream with a company that does international moves just a few months ago. So you might look on the replays of our live streams on our YouTube channel at Panama Relocation Tours. I think it's about $12,000 for a 20-foot container and about $15,000 for a 40-foot container. If you're having sticker shock with those numbers, another option is to just send a pallet to Panama, and that's going to cost about, a pallet is 4 feet by 4 feet by 6 feet tall, and that's going to cost about $1,500. So you could ship 2 or 3 or 4 pallets, perhaps cheaper than shipping a whole container. In our online Panama relocation guide, we do have recommendations on very trustworthy international movers and also people that you can help you with getting just a pallet to Panama. So Heather wants to know, good evening. If you come to Panama with pets and don't have permanent residency, do you have to leave Panama and return with your pets for a term for your temporary visa? So first of all, I wouldn't really recommend coming to Panama with your pets until you have applied for a visa. Don't bring them if you're just coming as a tourist. But if you come to Panama with your pets and you're getting your temporary visa, of course you can stay in Panama until you get your permanent visa. But if you're planning to come to Panama, get your temporary visa and then leave and come back later when you get your permanent visa, I wouldn't advise doing that with pets. It only takes about 5 days to get your temporary visa, and maybe they could just stay with grandma while you came to Panama to do that. Is it smart to keep our bank account in the States so our SSI can continue to be deposited into our account? That's a personal choice. Some people want to have their Social Security direct deposited into their U.S. bank and then just use an ATM to get a debit card to get access to the cash from an ATM machine, or you can write a check from a U.S. bank and deposit that into your Panama bank. Some people want to have their Social Security direct deposited into their Panama bank account. I actually have an article about that on my website. So if you go to PanamaRelocationTours.com and search Social Security, then you'll see that article about getting what the choices are. Bill wants to know, can you fly from David to Las Tablas or Chitre? You cannot fly from David to Las Tablas or Chitre. Nope, not possible. What if you see a house or an apartment that you see on your tour that you want, and you want to put a down payment and lock it up with a realtor? Is that possible? Well, first of all, on our tour, we only show rentals. We don't show things for sale because we strongly encourage you not to buy anything until you've been here for at least a year, maybe 2, maybe forever, just be a renter. But if you see something you love during the tour, then certainly you can get with a real estate agent. They could join us for lunch or dinner, and you could lock it up. Russ wants to know, can AARP be used in Panama? Can AAA be used in Panama? AAA cannot be used in Panama, and I don't know what you mean by AARP. I know that stands for American Associations of Retired People, but I don't know how you would, what they offer, how you could use that in Panama. You're going to have to give me a little more clarification. And Life Lesson says, once health insurance is purchased, does the person's age out and can no longer be covered? No, that's not the way it works. A person can age out and not be able to get insurance, a new policy, because of their age. Usually if you're over 74, with a few exceptions in Panama. But if you've purchased health insurance in Panama, Panamanian insurance policy, they're going to continue to cover you forever, so long as you make that monthly payment or the annual payment for insurance. So you don't have to worry about them dropping you when you get to a certain age. And hubby and I want to do some filming for documentaries not being sold in Panama. Can we do that on a Pensionado visa? It depends. It depends. You're going to need to probably talk to your immigration attorney. There's also some things that cannot be filmed in Panama, so there's restrictions on that. So it'd be a good idea to talk to your immigration attorney or even contact the tourism authority, because they do have restrictions about anything like that. Louisa says, will there be any festivals or holiday celebrations in March? There is. The biggest holiday celebration of all of Panama is in March this year. It's Carnival. It lasts for about 5 days. And it's going to be crazy, crazy parties and street parties, and people getting sprayed with water hoses from the fire trucks, and lots of really loud music for about 5 days in multiple locations in Panama. If I already have health insurance, do I still need to purchase Panama health insurance? Maybe and maybe not. And if the insurance you have right now covers you overseas, then you don't need to buy any other insurance. But if the insurance you have right now does not cover you overseas, then it won't do you any good in Panama. And Patricia says, can you drive with a U.S. license once you apply for your visa? Can you rent a car? So no, you can't. Once you, even whenever you apply for your visa, when they actually put that stamp in your passport, says they're going to get a visa, which happens about 5 days before you actually get your visa card. From that minute that they put that stamp in your passport, you can no longer drive with your foreign license. You have to get a Panama driver's license before you can drive. And you can't get a Panama driver's license until you actually get your visa card. And some car rental companies will rent to people over 70. Some will not rent to people over 70. So you need to contact them to find out who will. Yvonne says, can I bring my guns to Panama? Unfortunately, no, you can't bring guns to Panama. There is still a ban on anybody bringing any guns into Panama. You really don't need them in Panama. It's very, very safe in Panama. And there's just a few areas that maybe it's not safe, but we don't recommend anybody live there anyway. But you cannot bring guns. Once you get your permanent visa, then you can apply for a gun permit in Panama, and you can buy guns in Panama. Is Pedicey a good place to live? Well, I can tell you the people that live in Pedicey think it's a great place to live. And then there's people that lived in Pedicey for a little while and decided it was way too hot or not enough activity, and they moved away. So like any place in the whole world, it's a personal decision on is this a good place to live or not a good place to live. Do you have names of apartment hotels? Are they only in Panama City? So in our online Panama relocation guide, we do have a list of about 25 apartment hotels that are in Panama City. So if you have the online guide, just search for apartment hotels and the list will come up. They do have apartment hotels in other areas of the country, but they're certainly more prevalent in Panama City. And Sandra wants to know, is April part of the rainy season? I'm planning to come to Panama this April. The middle of April is the beginning of the rainy season, but I can tell you that in April, we still don't get very much rain. Even in the dry season, we get a little bit of rain, but just because April is the beginning of the dry season doesn't mean the you're going to flip a switch and all of a sudden you're going to get rain every single day. If it rains at all, it might rain after 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe for 30 minutes or an hour, and then it'll just stop. But it's not going to rain every day. What is the process to get a Panamanian driver's license? There's 2 different ways that you can get a Panama driver's license. If you do a search on our website for Panama driver's license, we have an article about the 2 ways that you can get a Panama driver's license. We also have step-by-step details in our online Panama relocation guide. Hi, Jackie. I heard that some expat Social Security checks didn't deposit into their bank account in February. Have you heard any experience of this? I have heard experience about that, and I actually wrote an article about it just last week. I wrote an article about it and sent out some information. What happens if you have your Social Security direct deposited into a bank account in a foreign country, like in Panama, then you're required every 2 years to send in a proof of life form. Social Security Administration will send you the proof of life form in June. I believe they send it in June or July, and it's supposed to be mailed in by October. If you don't mail it in by October, then they suspend your payments until you send it in. So people, if their Social Security didn't happen, if it was suspended, it's because they didn't send in their proof of life form. My wife is disabled, chronic fatigue. What considerations should I consider if we want to relocate? So the most important things for you to consider about relocating is if whatever medications that she might take is if they're available in Panama. I can tell you that some medications are not available in Panama. Some medications cost a fortune in Panama, and some medications are a lot cheaper in Panama. But because she has this disability, she's probably not going to be able to get Panama insurance. So you need to know that you're going to have to pay out of pocket for any medical care or any medications. We do have an article so you can check the availability and price of medications. So if you go to PanamaRelocationTours.com and in the upper right-hand corner, search drugs, DRUGS. In that article, there's 2 things. One, you can get a free report that has a list of the 50 most common medications that are prescribed and what do they cost here in Panama. Are they available? What do they cost? The other thing that article has is a link to 2 pharmacies, very popular pharmacies in Panama, where you can just type in the name of the medication and see if it's available. Now you might have to check the generic instead of a name brand to see if it's in Panama. You could try both. And Jane wants to know, can you write checks from a credit union and deposit into a Panama bank account like Banismo? If it's a U.S. credit union, then yes, you can do that. I have AFLAC. Can I use this in Panama for cancer treatment on accidental injuries? You need to contact your insurance agent that issued the AFLAC insurance and ask them to send you a summary of your insurance policy to see if there's any overseas coverage at all, because most of the AFLAC does not have any overseas coverage. Perhaps yours does. Tony wants to know, do realtors go by the FICO score to purchase property in Panama? They do not go by FICO score, and it's not realtors. You go to a bank. If you're going to apply for a mortgage, you would go to a bank. The most important thing that they're going to want is 30 or 40% down on a mortgage, and they're going to want to know how are you going to pay for the payments. So they're going to look at income more than anything else. By the way, if you joined us a little bit late and you'd like to ask a question too, you're going to have to type it into the chat window, and please put 3 question marks in front of it. Otherwise, I won't know it's a question. And then when I see it, I'll click on it, pop it up on the screen, and I'll answer your question. Looking forward to the tour in April. Are there health restrictions to get a Pensionado visa? Currently, there are no health restrictions to get a Pensionado visa. For several years, they had a restriction that if you were HIV positive, you couldn't get a visa. But because there are so many great medications now, they don't have that restriction anymore. You still have to get the health certificate, though. Kevin wants to know, Kevin from Panama Relocation Tour number 217, if you want an education, take the tour. Absolutely. If you're lucky with Jolynn and John, Jackie's the best wealth of knowledge, best money I've ever spent. Thank you so much, Kevin, for the kind words. And being a PRT alumni, let us know, if you haven't already done so, let us know when you're going to move to Panama and where you move to. So Dan says, what are the details of the so-called special corporation needed to be established for friendly nation visa as a remote worker for an employer? So the details of the special corporation are that you have to have some Panamanians as directors in that corporation. The other thing is the corporation, you have to get a work permit, you have to be registered with Social Security, you're going to get a ROOK number, which is like a Social Security number or an EIN number for your corporation. You have to pay yourself at least $1,000 a month. So there are some special, this is a different kind of corporation than other corporations, and your immigration attorney can explain it to you. By the way, we just added in our online Panama relocation guide, I've just updated it, and I'll be sending out the notice tomorrow that we have pricing for all the different immigration attorneys and a new immigration attorney that's listed in there as well. What kind of insect repellent should we have? You know, I rarely, unless I'm going to the beach, I don't ever use insect repellent. Up in the highlands, I just don't need it. But if I go to the beach, then I have a problem with no-see-ums that just want to eat my legs. So then I use something called jungle oil. I prefer to use natural ingredients instead of DEET and things like that. Bill says, I know you can fly from Panama City to David. What other cities can you fly to from Panama City? So you can also fly to Bocas del Toro from Panama City. Are the real estate agents in the guide able to show us any property we find that is available to rent, or is it limited to properties they know of? Some, I can tell you that some real estate agents, by the way, we added a new real estate agent for Panama City also in the online guide that has a huge inventory of rental properties, the biggest inventory of rental properties in all of Panama City. Some real estate agents are willing to share their commission even on a rental. And so they will let other people show their properties. There's some real estate agents that they will not share their commission because it's so small. They don't make hardly any money on rentals, so they won't share their rentals. So the answer, like so many things in Panama, is it depends. It depends on which agent you're working with. I'm 84. Does that present a problem with regard to obtaining a driver's license? It doesn't regard, the only thing that you're going to have to do once you turn 70 and you're getting your driver's license or renewing your driver's license, the only thing extra you have to do is you have to go to an internal medicine doctor, and they're going to clear you to say you're mentally fit and able to drive. That's the only thing that's different. Patricia wants to know, how long does it take to get your Panama license once you get your visa? So whenever you're applying for a visa, if you set up your appointment with the embassy to get your driver's license authenticated, but in that 5 days while you're getting your visa, you could go ahead and get your license authenticated at the embassy. You could also work with one of our fixers, which is the easiest way to get your license re-authenticated at the Ministry of Foreign Relations. If you do those two things while you're in the process of getting your visa, also go ahead and get your blood test done because they put your blood type on your driver's license card. If you'll do those things, then you could actually get your driver's license the next day after you get your visa. Or if you get it in the morning, you can get your driver's license in the afternoon. It's very fast if you do some preliminary planning. Let's see. Do I need a car if I live in Boquete? So Boquete is actually a very large area. And it depends on where you live in Boquete. Some areas in Boquete, like, it was, when I lived on Volcancito Road, it was a 12, 15-minute drive for me to get from my house to downtown Boquete. If you live downtown, even there's some places where you can either take a bus or you can drive. So there are places where you can live in Boquete where you don't need a car, but there's other parts of Boquete where you'd absolutely need a car. So, like so many things in Panama, it depends. And I'm 81, my wife is 77. Will that be a problem? That's no problem at all. Come on down. For our first scouting trip to Panama as a potential retirement spot, what 3 places do you suggest we look for great expats and also some sort of local community? So that's really not the way to evaluate it, Shannon, in my opinion. What you need to do for your evaluation is you need to determine what kind of weather do you want. Do you want, and what kind of amenities do you want, and what's your budget? And then you find the places that fits that. So some people, like me, I don't want to live where I need an air conditioner or a heater. So I want to live in the highlands. Other people love living at the beach. That would not be me. So you have to decide, are you a beach people, a mountain people, or do you want to live right in the middle of Panama City? Are you a city people? I'm a mountain people. So that's how I picked the area that I really wanted to live in. And then you have to decide what your budget is. How much can you spend per month on rent? What's your monthly budget going to be in Panama? Is it going to be $1,000 a month or $2,000 or $3,000? Because that's going to help determine where you're going to live also. So if you want to send me an email with a little bit more information about your budget, not putting it on here, but about your budget, and if you like hot weather, cold weather, you need to be close to hospital because of health problems. Do you have school-aged children that need to be close to school? There's so many different variables to help you decide where to live. And next question is from Ken. Where do you purchase your bug repellent, the jungle oil? So I would purchase, because I live in Boquete, I would buy my jungle oil. They sometimes sell it at the Tuesday market, which I rarely ever go there. But they also sell it at a restaurant in Alto Boquete called The Garden, and they have it available there. Joshua says, what are some of the best areas other than Panama City in Panama to live with kids with a good international school is a top priority? So we have an article with a list of international schools. There's some great, that has a list of them with a link to the school. So if you search on our website for schools, then you can see that article. There's some really good international schools that are in the Gorgona, Coronado, San Carlos area. There's about 5 international schools there. There's an excellent international school that's just south of Boquete. So that's another area that's really good. There is an international school in Bocas del Toro also, but I have information about it in that article. How's the internet on Boquete and is it slow? So my internet in Boquete is 500 megabits of internet speed. I could get 1 terabit if I needed to, but I just didn't feel the need to. So long as you live in an area that has fiber optics, then you're going to have very good internet speed. If you live way out in a rural area, then you might not have access to fiber optics, and then it could be slow. Any idea why so many settlements are on the south coast rather than the north coast? Yes, because that's where the development is, on the south coast. There's not hardly anything on the north coast because the majority of the land on the Atlantic or the Caribbean side is owned by the Nove Bule Indians, and they don't want that area developed. That's their reservation land, and they don't want anybody there. So there is a little bit that's over by Bocas del Toro. There's a little bit that's over by the Colon area, but the area in the middle, it's not developed. I'm considering Chitre to start off. Are there swimming pools and rentals there? Some of the rentals do have swimming pools in Chitre. There's also a public swimming pool available too. My wife has thrown me a curve. What are the amenities like in Altos del Maria? So, I've been to Altos del Maria 3 times, and when I was there was like 6 years ago. So I don't know what the current amenities are in Altos del Maria. There's a Facebook group that's just for Altos del Maria, so you might search that out and ask some people that actually live there. But I don't know what the current amenities are. I know there's no grocery stores, things like that. There's just not a lot there. You have to drive about 45 minutes or 50 minutes to get into Coronado for most things. Ralph wants to know, how will the Mercosur agreement between Latin American countries affect permanent residents of Panama? Will travel become easier? Travel is not going to become easier if you have a passport for one of those countries, which is Argentina, Brazil. Let's see, I have the list over here. Let me look at it. Yeah, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, or Uruguay. If you have a passport for one of those countries, then it's going to be easier for you to come and live in Panama. But, travel, you still have to do the very same rules for traveling. Are English teacher positions part of the protected profession? English teacher positions are not a protected profession, and one of the best things that you might want to do is look at some of the international schools and see if they are doing any hiring. I can tell you that their English teachers are kind of a dime a dozen in Panama. They're everywhere. You would make much more money doing teaching online than you would teaching in Panama. Sandra says, is all of Boquete in the mountains? I don't want to live in high altitude. It's not. Some of Boquete, which is considered Boquete, is in like at 1,500 feet. Some downtown Boquete is at 3,500 feet. The house I had is at up in the mountains was at almost 5,000 feet, and then I was at 4,600 feet. There's some areas that are as high as 7,500 feet. So there's a lot of different elevations. It's really a very large area. So like I always say, you can pick your ideal temperature based on the elevation. 5,000 feet might be too high and too cold for you, but for me, 1,500 feet, when I lived in a house there for a little while, was way too hot for me. So everybody's different. Mark wants to know, does PriceSmart and David deliver to Boquete? Do any merchants deliver in Boquete? So PriceSmart does deliver in Boquete, but it's not always real reliable. There's even a better source. There's a gentleman that lives in Boquete that you can order everything on PriceSmart with their online. You can order everything online and then set and pay for it and have it for pickup, that you're going to pick it up. But instead of you picking up, there's someone that you can hire in Boquete that will go down there and pick it up for you. His is much more reliable than the PriceSmart delivery. But other things, there's a few merchants that will deliver like a pizza or something like that, but for the most part, there's just not delivery. I think Super Baru grocery store has started home delivery. I haven't tried it, so I don't know how well that is. If staying extra after the tour, do you recommend renting a car to travel back over to Panama or a motorbike? I don't know how to drive a motorbike. However, I'm over 70. So first of all, you probably wouldn't want to do that. And let me tell you why. Because if you rent a car, let's say in David or in Boquete, and you want to drive it all the way back to Panama City, because you're not dropping it off at the same location, they're going to charge you an extra $250 to $300 to drop it off at a different location. So it would be better for you to rent a car, do some exploring in a certain area, like in Chiriquí province in far western Panama, then turn that car in. Then if you want to do some exploring over closer to Panama City, Either take a bus over to Panama City for 20 bucks or fly over to Panama City and then rent a car in that area and do some driving around. You're going to have a bit of a hard time renting a motorcycle at 70, but a car would be a lot easier. And Russ wants to know, my future wife planning on getting married in Panama would love to take you out to dinner in Panama once we get there to show our appreciation. Is that possible? You know, the best thing to do, Russ, and of course I would love to do that, but one of the fun things to do is every single month we have what we call our PRT meetup or PRT get together. PRT stands for Panama Relocation Tours. So, and I try to go to one of them, either Boquete or Panama City or someplace. But that's a great place for you to get together with me and a lot of other Panama Relocation Tour people that have moved to the area. So you can meet a lot of people, be ready to take down some phone numbers. Some people hand out business cards that they had made with their phone number and email on it, so you can connect with them that way. So that's a great way to connect with a lot of people. Maria says, what address does one use on their driver's license when you have only a pensionado? So they're going to ask you for your address whenever you get your driver's license. And what they're really asking for is what city do you live in? They don't want like 123 Main Street. You're either going to say Alto Boquete, Baja Boquete, David, Bocan, you know, Concepcion, whatever city that you live in. That's all you have to give them. I like this one. Kevin says, PRT 217 strong. It was a great tour. What's your opinion of Farallon, Playa Blanca? Is it a good area? So I think the Playa Blanca area, I think that area is a really good area, and it's getting better and better every single week, every single month. It's getting better because they built that new shopping center at the entrance when you turn off down to Playa Blanca. It has a really great grocery store. It has hardware stores. It has a pharmacy. It just has a lot more things are coming into that area. It is, you know, you still, a lot of activities, social activities are going to happen right at Playa Blanca, but there's other social activities that are going to be in San Carlos or Coronado, which is a 20 or 30-minute drive. So you're probably going to need a car if you live there. But it's more affordable in the Playa Blanca area than it is in other areas. So it's worth it to save some money. How long after a tour can I apply for a pensionado visa? So some people apply for their pensionado visa just before the tour. They come into Panama City on Monday, and by Friday, when the tour starts, they already have their visa. Other people stay 5 days after their tour, and they apply for a visa immediately. Last day, we have the farewell dinner on Thursday night. Some people are applying for their visa on Friday. So you can do it immediately after your tour. So provided that you've either brought or you've sent all the appropriate information that's authenticated or apostilled to your immigration attorney. When you get a Panama driver's license, do you have to give up your home country license? Nope, you don't. Time out, got to take a little drink. Okay. Patricia says, would it be best to find a rental before I get my visa and driver's license? I'll be there on March 9th of 2066, PRT 266. That's another thing that's a personal decision. I think it's so much easier to go ahead and get your rental first and then apply for your visa and get your driver's license. Because if you don't, then you're going to have the monthly expense, the nightly expense of a hotel room and eating out all the time. But if you already find a rental and you're staying there, then you can go back to your rental and you don't have the hotel expenses. I actually wrote an article about that. So on Panama Relocation Tours, search when is the best time to get your visa. And I talk about after you've moved to Panama is the best time. If you take a private tour, will they show you a rental in the area you're interested in? If you ask them to, they will show you rentals. Some people want to see rentals, some people don't want to see rentals. So every single private tour is completely customized to see and do the things that you're most interested in. I do suggest that you let the private tour guide know what your budget is, because they don't want to waste your time and show you rentals that are $2,000 a month when your budget is $1,000 a month. So let them know. Yvonne, should I get my docs apostilled or authenticated? So it depends. If you have to do an apostille by sending it, if you're from Canada, you have to get your documents apostilled. So that's one thing. If you're from the United States, you can do either one. But if you have to get your documents apostilled by sending them to the federal State Department, it can take 3 months or 4 months to get them back. So that's not good. If you can get them apostilled at the Secretary of State's office in the state where you live, then that's quick and easy, and you can do it that way. But if you can't get them apostilled at the Secretary of State in the state where you live, then I would recommend that you get authenticated at the Panama Consulate, because it's quick and easy. You just don't want to get into a situation. You don't want to hire a company that says they're going to pay them big bucks to get your documents apostilled, and it still takes 2 or 3 months. You don't want to do that. You can, either go to a Panama Consulate or mail your documents to Panama Consulate to get the authentication. It's quick and easy and super cheap. And Maria says, we've heard there is an insurance scandal with Hospital Breezes. Can you explain that? There is an insurance scandal with Hospital Breezes. It has to do with veterans insurance. The Veterans Administration is no longer working with Hospital Breezes because they were overcharging. If you go to I think it's va.gov, and you can do a search about Panama, then there's a whole article with a lot more details. Can I open a bank account in Panama without going there? No, you cannot. And which bank would you recommend? You can't open, you have to be here, and they want to see your signature that matches your passport, and they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They have a know your customer policy here in Panama, so that's why you have to be here to open a Panama bank account. Ease of renting with large dogs. Some landlords will, some landlords won't. Are you working with Cherokee area hospitals to offer no age-restricted Panamanian insurance? If not, is there a plan for the future? So right now, that's not one of the things I'm working on. There's a couple of other things that I'm working on, but that's not one of them. One of your choices that you have with no age restriction is not insurance, but you can use the public hospital. The public hospital in the Cherokee area, there's no age restriction. They don't care what your pre-existing conditions are, and there's no monthly fee for insurance, but still they'll take care of you. It's about $2 to see a doctor or $5 for a specialist. Do you have an architect that you recommend in that area? I do not have an architect. I don't recommend builders or construction people because there's so many problems. And some people, they can say, oh, this person did a great job for me. And then you have 3 people say, we're in a lawsuit with that person. It's just a horrible situation. So I have made the decision to just stay away from recommending any builders or remodelers because there's just too many problems with it. Do you have, I just did that one. Hawaii doesn't have a Panama consulate in the state. If we can go back to the mainland to stay for a few months prior to coming to Panama, does that count as living there? So that counts as living there, but the other thing is I'm sure they have DHL or Federal Express available in Hawaii. You can just mail your documents to the Long Beach office in California, get them apostilled, and then ask them, include a self-addressed stamp envelope, and have them go ahead and mail them right on to your Panama attorney. So you don't actually have to go to the consulate office. You can mail the documents. Whoops, wrong one. Is Kaiser only accepted in David? Currently, Kaiser is only accepted at 2 hospitals in David, Hospital Cherokee or Hospital May Louis. If I don't return to Panama to pick up the permanent visa prior to my temporary visa expiring, will I have to restart the visa process? The temporary visa is good for 6 months. The temporary visa is good for 6 months, and if you don't come back whenever it expires, you wouldn't necessarily have to start the process all over again. However, from the minute that your permanent visa is ready, that you get the resolution, your attorney can pick that up, but there's going to be a $50 per month per person penalty for every month you don't pick it up once your permanent visa is ready. So when your permanent visa is ready, you need to get on down to Panama. It only takes a couple days to get that, so it could be a quick and easy trip. And Debbie wants to know, after 70, don't you have to renew your driver's license every 2 years instead of every 4 years? Yes, that's correct. I was also told you can get a mortgage. You can't get a mortgage after 70. If you get a mortgage to buy a house, then it has to be paid off by the time you're 70. What you can do when you're over 70, if you want to buy real estate in Panama, is you can find sellers that will sell with seller financing. Then you don't have to deal with a mortgage company. But yeah, they won't do new mortgages if you're 70 or older. Even if you're 69, I don't think that they would do a mortgage. Does the Canadian RC? I don't know what that means. You're going to have to clarify your question, please. Is there a dispensary fee at the pharmacies? I've never heard of a dispensary fee at pharmacies. They just charge you for the medication. There's not an extra fee added. What things are taxed in Panama? So like so many places in Panama, just about everything is taxed with a 7% sales tax. The things that are not 10% if it's alcohol. But the things that are not taxed is if you just go to a fruit and vegetable stand and you buy fruits and vegetables, that's not taxed. But if you buy things that are in a bag or a box or a can or a jar, that's going to have a 7% tax. How does the Canadian RCMP check need to be apostilled? Yes, your RCMP does need to be apostilled in the province where you live. But before it can be apostilled, you actually have to get it notarized also. If you have our online Panama relocation guide, then we have a list of all the locations in Canada where you can get things notarized and where you can get the apostille. But you have, in Canada, you have to do the apostille. Steve says, I'm confused if we had a rental car traveling to David from Boquete to get a temporary visa. How do we legally drive back to Boquete? So you would not take a rental car. If you're going to David to get your visa, you should not take a rental car because you can't drive it back to Boquete. What you need to do is get a taxi. You can take the bus for $1.75 each to get from Boquete to David. Or just get a taxi to take you to go get your visa and then take a taxi to get back to Boquete. But you're not going to be able to drive that rental car once you've applied for your visa, which is actually before you get the card. And looking for the next question here. Is that healthcare announcement still scheduled for March? It's still scheduled for March. My temp visa will be expired by the time I return for my Panama visa. Do I need to purchase a round-trip ticket? I would say yes, you're going to need a round-trip ticket if your temporary visa is expired, because when you go to check in for your international flight, they're going to want to see your visa card. And if it shows that it's expired, they'll make you buy another ticket there. So it'll be much cheaper if you just go ahead and buy the round-trip ticket or do the onward travel thing, which we've taught you about in the online guide. How is the recycling ethic in Panama? Is there a government recycling program? It's not really a government recycling program. It's all private. There's no recycling at your house. That doesn't happen. There are places where you can drop things off that are recycled. And most of those places look really bad. It's just piled up with lots and lots of stuff. So there's definitely a lot of room for improvement when it comes to recycling in Panama. Is seller financing common for home purchases in Panama? I would say it's not common, but it is certainly possible. I've helped a lot of our PRT clients negotiate seller financing with like 5% or 10% down, sometimes zero interest and no balloon, that it doesn't have to be paid off by a certain time. If you don't ask, you don't get. That's the way it works in Panama. So people, maybe they've had their house on the market for 5 years and it hasn't sold to a cash buyer. If you approach that person with the offer of me giving you a certain amount of money now and payments every single month to just get your house sold, then there's a lot of people that would be glad to do that, and so they can just move on with their life, whatever they want to do. And how long does it usually take to get your cedula after getting your permanent visa? So after you get your permanent visa, you can apply for your cedula the very next day. You have to apply for it in Panama City, but then you're not going to actually get the visa, the cedula card, until about 7 days later. If you're already living in Panama, you can say, send it to Boquete, send it to David, send it to Chitre, wherever you're living. So they'll send it there, and you go to the electoral tribunal office in that city to pick up your cedula card. So it takes about 7 days. If you're not going to be in Panama, then you could write an authorization for your attorney to pick it up in Panama City, but not in the other locations. Russ says, after leaving the U.S., I'm required to get Medicare after reaching retirement age. Will I have to pay any fines or fees? So Medicare Part A is free. It doesn't cost anything, and they just kind of automatically give it to you, I think. But Medicare Part B, that's a choice. You can decide to get that or not get it. The advantage in getting Medicare Part A and Part B is then you can convert that over to a Medicare Advantage plan. And there's many Medicare Advantage plans that have a give back. So you might only end up spending $50 a month or $35 a month for insurance that will cover you for urgent care and emergencies in Panama, plus full coverage when you go back to the United States. So I think it's worth it to keep your Medicare A and B so that you can convert it to Medicare Advantage. Especially if you have chronic health problems, you're probably not going to be able to get insurance in Panama. So this is a safety net for you to have some kind of insurance, even if it's just for emergencies. Diane says, is there an Adopt a Highway program in Panama? Nope, there's no Adopt a Highway program. And I'm confused. Once applied for a visa, can you not drive in Panama? Once you've applied for a visa, you cannot drive in Panama with your foreign license. But you can get a Panama driver's license and then you can drive, but you just can't drive with your foreign license. And that's the minute that your passport is stamped that says you've applied for a visa. Even before you get your visa card, you can no longer drive with your foreign license. And Dave wants to know, are international driver's license accepted in Panama? They are not. Wow, it's almost been an hour already. Time flies. I have disabled son with cerebral palsy. Would the health be good for him? So I don't understand the question. Panama would be good for your son, that's for sure. How about amenities in Cerro Azul? So Cerro Azul has extremely limited amenities in the community. It's not a town, it's just a community. It's like a gated community. I think there's like, what do you call it? A place where they make beer. What's that called? I don't know because I don't drink beer. There's like a little pizza place just outside of Altos de Cerro Azul. There's a small little clinic. For most things, you're going to have to drive 10 or 15 minutes to get back to a street called 24 December. And that's where you're going to have all the stores and the malls and the restaurants and doctors and hospitals and things like that. But there's not much in Cerro Azul. Maria says, can we get our driver's license while the temp visa is in process? You cannot. You cannot get a driver's license until you have your temporary visa card. Then you can apply for a driver's license. So once you get your visa card, then you can apply for a driver's license, but not prior to that. I think I've answered all the questions. I don't see any more question marks. Well, we're only 5 minutes away from it being 1 hour. You know, there was a time back in like 2018, 2019, 2020, when I would do conference calls. Instead of doing these live streams, I did conference calls. Some of them were 2 hours long. The questions were coming in, and I could click on people and unmute them so they could ask their question live, which is great because sometimes it requires a follow-up question. But the bad thing about a 2-hour conference call is listening to it is a very, very long listen. So, you know, I just keep these live streams down to not more than 1 hour. And I think that's much better for people that might want to listen to the live stream or fast forwards through certain areas. If for some reason I didn't get to your question today, if you would please email me with your question, then I'm glad to answer it there. I might not get to it tonight because I'm getting ready to go out to dinner, but I can probably get to it tomorrow. So send an email to info. Let me pop it up on the screen right here. info@PanamaRelocationTours.com. That's my email. It goes right to me. I'll see it. So if I didn't get your question, or if you were too shy to ask a question, or it's a personal situation, you're always welcome to send an email to info@PanamaRelocationTours.com, and I will answer it there. I hope you learned something new. If you have suggestions for some other topics, I already have some people lined up that I'm going to be interviewing for some other live streams, but if you have some suggestions for other topics that you would like for me to cover, send an email and let me know, and we'll do our best to get some people on the live stream to interview that you're interested in hearing from. Thanks for joining me for our Saturday live stream. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I've got this goal, a crazy goal, of getting to 50,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel by the end of the year. And you're the one that can help me do that by clicking that subscribe button. So thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye.